She put up with a lot from me. My insecurities, criticism, anger, projections, and even my own share of lies and deceit. And even my own share of lies and deceit.
The purpose of an ego death is to reveal you to yourself. Along the way, you may learn a thing or two about others you've interacted with, especially when it comes to things you suppressed. Traumas, fake relationships, ways that you were abandoning yourself for that person. But ultimately, the purpose is that it strips away all illusions. Anything that keeps you posturing or performing or just otherwise living inauthentically as yourself, regardless of people's judgments, regardless of people's perceptions. It's scary at first, but I'm going to tell you it is truly, truly freeing to be able to get in front of a camera, speak your truth, be vulnerable, and really not care how you're received is just a powerful feeling that I think that I couldn't really describe if I tried. And so, like the recap suggested, I'm now going to go back in time before the events that took place in the previous video, a full year before, in fact. And I'm going to take accountability and expose myself. Because if nothing else, this should give you an idea of what emotional cheating looks like. Things got progressively rockier as my relationship with my ex progressed toward the end of the year. We met in February and were in shambles by December. And this is after getting a place together. The place that I'm staying in right now in September. Looks like my mic died. If you didn't guess, it's attached to the back of this. Basically, at this part, I was recapping our move into this house and how she was actually the voice of reason because she was on board for the move, but wanted us to consider some cheaper places so that we had more financial breathing room. But I was kind of hyper fixated on this particular place, on this, I guess, vision I had of us in this place. I didn't have stagnancy in mind. I knew that we would get to a point where we had jobs where we could afford it comfortably. And we did get there, not even too long after we moved in, but not immediately. And so there was obvious resentment for allowing herself to be talked into something that she really didn't want to do. Anyway, so in November, we had a really big fight. At this point, I don't even remember what it was about, but I, of course, remember what it led to. For a full week, she treated me like I didn't even exist, and we lived together. This was something I had frankly never experienced before. In fact, it wasn't until therapy that I learned that there's actually a word for it. It's called stonewalling. And, I don't doubt that her intent was probably not to cause me harm or be vindictive or anything like that. It probably was that she just felt that she needed space and time. But with the very many big arguments like that one, it just felt like the missing element was always the communication of this is why I am not speaking to you. And of course, this is when I will come back. And so I was just kind of hurt and confused and feeling abandoned, trying to olive branch whenever we passed each other in the kitchen or something, or through text while we were at work. And I was just met with cold silence. And for somebody like me that's had an abandonment wound all my life, that was agonizing. And so, about 4 days into the Stonewall, along comes someone sliding into my DMs. Now, I was very much confused about this because I didn't follow many girls on Instagram in the first place. I've never been that guy to have a feed full of models and, I don't know, OnlyFans girls. Most of the people that I was friends with, or I guess following on Instagram and vice versa, were people I knew in real life. I didn't know this person. So I'm like, hey, like, what? I asked, like, do I know you from somewhere? Or I think I had left a comment on some kind of like relationship, like sad relationship post or something. And, she replied to it with the DM and then, shared that she had gone through similar things. And I think my third ever message to her was, I'm seeing someone, I have a girlfriend. And she just, further reassured me, oh, no, not like that. I wasn't like trying to slide in your DMs on that type of time. That's basically how I ended up confiding in her, talking about my ex. Like I ended up like venting to her. But after a while, this other girl dropped her mask. The thing that our relationship was built on, which was me seeing her as a confidant, as a friend, slowly shifted in a way that I only noticed in hindsight because I'd be venting like I would normally do. And now there's a delayed response or a strange, sad comment. And this confused me at first because, again, I had led with, hey, I'm seeing someone not interested. But over time, that validation, the slow, steady increase in compliments, and combine that with echoing, anything negative you were saying about your partner. And of course, over time, your mindset shifts. You start to think, well, why am I not with this person? The one that gets me, the one that is giving me everything I'm missing in my actual relationship. But this is how temptation works. This is why you just don't even crack the door. It started as hours and then days because at this time I had no one else to talk to. My ex was sleeping in the guest room and things just continued to erode. I could tell that she was also keeping secrets from me. I'm not going to really go into all of that because I feel like I did enough of that in the last video. This one's about me taking accountability for my deception. And here was this person being super communicative and reassuring me, and it just felt good to be heard. This is what it looks like. Someone's telling you everything you want to hear, and you're getting these very things that you aren't getting with your partner. So even after a sort of kind of repair, I was still talking to this other girl. I was still cheating. But it just finally culminated in us actually breaking up the beginning of December. And it was hard to get there. As much as I was feeling so hurt and like the relationship was so one sided, I'm pulling all the weight. I wasn't. But it really felt like that to me. I really felt fully convicted. But at the same time, I really, really, really did not want to break up with her. More than anything, I wanted to work. Now, to be fair and honest, things had already progressed to speaking in a way that somebody in a relationship should not be speaking. And so it's like, what people don't realize is when you have anybody in any capacity in the background of your relationship, it's dangerous simply because it changes how you move. When you feel like you have a plan B, suddenly your plan A is not the worst thing in the world to lose. Your actions reflect the mentality that even if this doesn't work out, I have a safe landing spot. And so around Christmas, it finally went there. Although we were already broken up, when she flew me out to spend a week with her, I lied to my ex. I told her I was going to stay with a friend who happened to live in the same city. And I was so ashamed of myself that I didn't even tell the friend. I told him I was in town, but I didn't until months later tell him what I was doing out there and also why I didn't even come to see him. We had a good time. We did finally sleep together. Prior to us meeting in person, there were already pictures exchanged. I did my best to leave all of the heartbreak and relationship drama behind me at home. But the entire time I was out there when I was with this other person, all I could think about was my ex. In fact, I told this person this too. One of the things that I really liked about her is that we were both very open, direct, and honest with each other. And that was just something that I felt like I couldn't be with my ex at the time. And so maybe like on the last or second to last day of the trip of me being out there, we had a heart to heart sitting in her car. And I told her, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I feel bad. Like, I know that you paid for me to be out here. You were a great host. You showed me a good time. But my feelings for my ex didn't just evaporate just because we broke up. Didn't evaporate just because we had experienced conflict or because I was unhappy. She tried her best to bury her own feelings and prioritize mine and be understanding. And I thought about everything more when I flew back. But when I flew back, of course, both me and my ex had the energy of missing each other because of the separation. And so that alone acted as the bridge that almost dissolved this new connection entirely, despite it only kind of just beginning. And I felt terrible about that. I felt so torn because I thought that I was ready to move on. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, only what, a few weeks, a month, that was not enough time to grieve and move on from that type of connection. But as I put here, like I felt like I had already been grieving while in the relationship. And so it wasn't just like okay, I'm back and things are great again and we just needed a week apart. No, we did start sleeping together again, which was messy because this was, without a title and with me talking to someone else, with my ex disappearing to who knows where repeatedly as we entered into the new year. I think it was like late January, early February of 2025, the following year, last year, after the other person this time flew to me and then I had to lie again. I didn't have to lie. We were separated officially. But I think, obviously the fact that we were still sleeping together and still saying I love you, still watching things together, still doing things together, just felt wrong. And this time it felt even more like gross because we had to stay in a hotel. But also, I had that final conversation. I said, hey, like, you've been a great friend to me. I really did develop romantic feelings. I really was, getting to that point of wanting to branch out and be with someone new. But I told her any further relationship would have to just be platonic. And I closed that chapter, at least, from a romantic standpoint. She took it well until she didn't. Things improved with my ex until they didn't. And we both were dating other people and discussed her moving out for like the thousandth time, all the way up until, I want to say, like March. But yeah, February was the end of any type of deceptive dating, on my end at least. I was done with the deception stuff after that. It was so exhausting. I mean, that's why I say, what I say in this text. It's like I had never cheated on nobody. Like, I really, not even emotionally. And I just was wondering, like, every day, how do people do this? Watching what you say, watching if they're able to see your phone and keeping up appearances. It just got way too exhausting, and it just didn't fit who I saw myself as. We didn't get back together officially until May. I want to say like maybe in March, or it could have been when we finally did get officially back together in May. Now, the last very important piece of all of this, me and my ex had a serious sit down conversation where we discussed the dating. My ex surprised me by being forthcoming about having a one night stand with someone in February. And I had remembered that night because I remembered it being the only real, like, in your face, obvious, I'm going on a date attire that I saw her in. But this is when we were both in like an honest dating phase. So I was dating someone new. She, I guess, was doing that. And when we got back together, she was forthcoming about, like, hey, I slept with this person. I asked a few details. She gave them and then said, but I do not want to hear anybody you might have slept with, did anything with during the time we were separated. I repeat, she directly told me, I do not want to hear anything like what I just told you. I don't want to hear about anybody you slept with, anybody you were messing with. And the thing is, I wanted to tell her everything, of course, especially because I actually was really proud of her for being the one to actually say, like, for, reassuring me, hey, this is what happened. You know what night this was, this what, we were both officially separated, so I wanted to reciprocate that. But I chose to honor her wishes. And of course, part of me is like, oh, shoot, say less. I don't got to feel awkward or whatever. But I think that, and this is just at this point, this isn't a fact. This is how I feel, or, theory. I think she either found out about my situation or kind of like intuitively knew. I don't know. Maybe someone told her. In any case, it was the move in together situation all over again because she said she didn't want to know, but I really feel like I was treated like I had kept it from her. You know what I mean? There was a distrust. There was like a coldness, a meanness that frankly caused me to completely shift dynamics in the relationship. Because in truth, looking back, if we were to do attachment styles, I think that at the start of the relationship, when we first met in February 2024, I was the more avoidant one. I think she was the more anxious one. But by spring 2025, when I got done with all the deception, all the, I didn't feel like dating anybody else, and I really like refocused on her. I really refocused on her. Like, I mean, I was putting so much effort into the relationship. And unfortunately, it just seemed like the more that I put in, the more I felt like she was putting in at that point. And so that led to us finally separating in August, which was the final separation. It's strange because I kind of feel like in doing what she asked of me, I ended up doing the wrong thing. Does that make sense? In my head, I immediately knew why she told me she didn't want to know about me sleeping with anyone. I knew that she just had like less of a capacity for those like really tough emotional, I don't know, things, situations than I had. And so I really was honestly like considering her feelings by not telling her, but I think this was maybe a situation where I should have told her anyway. Darned if you do, darned if you don't, right? That third party situation and the dating that occurred throughout 2025 really allowed me to get a really good grasp of what I wanted and what I didn't want when it came to a relationship. And also to know that I absolutely despise deception on either end. I hate lying. I hate being lied to. And I urge everyone who watches this to not crack that door. Don't allow anything to develop with the opposite sex if you are in a committed relationship and this isn't somebody that you have like long standing, best friend, platonic only all your life type of connection with. Confiding in them is dangerous. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It doesn't matter that I felt that there was deception and, other men on her end. You aren't in control of the other person. So all you can do is make sure that your side of the street stays clean. As always, I hope this helps someone. Until next time, may the source be with you.